I'm so excited today to get you all ready for your detox and elimination diet. So most of you have joined us today to get healthy and maybe to optimize health. Some of you may have quite a few things that are going on, and this is your first step in your journey towards better health. So I'm really excited that you're doing this. I hope you are as well. There's a lot involved, so let's get started and figure out exactly where we're going with the detox and elimination. So the why and how of our elimination diet. That's pretty much what this is going to be about. The elimination diet is probably the hardest part of this detox. The detox itself is really more what happens during an elimination diet and then supplementation that we add at the second week that helps your body get rid of all your toxins. So let's dive in to what the why is. So why do we detox? So many might actually be very healthy and feel like I'm doing well. I don't have a lot of symptoms. I don't have any disease processes. And I'm not sure why she wants me to do a detox. Well, even I do a detox usually about twice a year. Some people do it every season. And these are the things or the reasons why we do a detox. Because no matter what we do, we're still overly exposed to toxins on a regular basis. Of course, there's the normal toxins that build up in your body, everything we put into our mouth, every biochemical reaction that occurs creates a byproduct, and those byproducts build up, and the liver has to get rid of them. In a normal process of everyday living, your liver is able to do that. However, as our technology increases, as our societies start to utilize more and more chemicals and plastics, etc., the exposure to toxins has increased significantly. And therefore, the liver does a really good job of getting rid of the toxins. However, unfortunately, it doesn't do enough and they end up building up. And where do they build up? They build up in our tissues. They build up in our fat tissue first. They build up in our joints. They build up in our brain. They build up in our stomach. It all kind of hides itself away because the body doesn't have the ability to deal with it. So it puts it somewhere so it can function on a regular basis. The best way to look at this is a good analogy is a clogged drain. And that's kind of how our body is right now. We're kind of clogged, our pores aren't working well, our cells aren't working well, the liver is overtaxed, the kidneys overtaxed, and the GI system can't get the nutrients in and out appropriately. So the detox is there to kind of unclog the drain and get things moving smoother. So what are we exposed to? We're exposed to air pollution. Hard to change that. And I mean, even if you move to Hawaii or Montana, or you're still going to have some form of air pollution, right? The second one is our little plane delivering pesticides and herbicides, unfortunately, to our crops. And although you may go as organic as possible, this stuff slips in regardless. And it's very difficult not to uh, have these things come into the system. And that's one of the reasons why I do a detox several times a year, because no matter what I do, I'm still going to be exposed. Now, the top right, we can pretty much stay away from these things, but most of us don't. We don't think that, Splenda or Equal are necessarily bad for us. So being able to read labels, making sure those things are out of our system as much as possible, but they sneak in all over the place. So again, even if you're really, really good about it, you just never know where they may pop up and get into your system. And then the fourth, which is something that you can work on, but very hard to, is the products that we use on a daily basis in our households. Cleaning products, beauty products, makeup, all of those things, deodorant, toothpaste, etc., uh, have a lot of chemicals, and we're exposed to it constantly. Um, and unfortunately, it's very hard to get rid of them once they get into our system. Plastics is another one. Uh, Plastic is everywhere, and all of us are using those plastics, the throwaway plastics. Well, what's happening with those? We're not throwing them away, and if we are, God forbid, because we really can't put them anywhere. So if you're using them one time and throwing them away, please switch to something that you just clean and put away. Glass, ceramic. Those are the things that we really should be using, because those plastics, if you're putting them in the dishwasher and cleaning them and reusing them, you are getting chemicals from them. So toxic exposures are constant, they're in our bodies, and we need to be able to get rid of it. And unfortunately, our liver wasn't made to overwork, and we are burdened with these things, and that's what's happening right now. So another reason why I detox on a regular basis is what I call the exposomes theory. Some people call it the epigenetics. So what are exposomes? Our exposomes are those things that are environment. We just talked about them. The toxins that are in the environment, food, nutrients, drugs, medications, things like that, that are environmental, that affect our DNA and can change the way our DNA acts and become a condition or a symptom, which eventually become disease. So only 10% of chronic disease is caused by genetics. I know that's shocking, right? It really is, but 10% of chronic disease is caused by genetics. So it is so important for us to recognize what the environment is doing. They now believe that food can turn on or turn off certain components of our DNA. Not only food, but the bacteria that's in our gut can turn on or turn off. So you really want to treat those things pretty well, right? You want to give yourself the right food. You want to be able to create the right environment in your colon so that the right parts of our DNA are turned on and the right parts are turned off. So we have to remember that that environmental component, which is burdening our system, needs to be dealt with on a regular basis, not just one time. So this detox isn't just for one time and move on. It's really something that you should be doing pretty much for life. So what happens, when we have these toxins that are sitting in our system? The first thing that we see is something called a leaky gut that can occur. So the toxins might be in the body already, but how do they get in? Well, they get in through the lungs. It's a pretty significant way. They get in through the skin, especially the beauty products that we put on. But the majority of them get in through the gut. The gut is the gateway for all of these items. And you see on the top, there are the triggers: stress, toxins, food particles, pathogens, which are the bacteria and viruses, drugs, and infections. Those are the things that get into our um, bowels and can cause an inflammatory reaction to the cells below. And you'll see here, hopefully you can see my marker here. So these are the cells, and they're supposed to be really nice together, have what we call tight junctions. And these areas where they're starting to slip apart or completely apart, those are the areas of inflammation. The cells aren't lined up really nice, and items that aren't supposed to get through will get through. So at least 80% of our immune system sits on the other side of that wall, waiting to pounce on anything that gets through. So that immune system does do that. It pounces, it creates immune complexes, And unfortunately, that becomes a systemic inflammation or an inflammation that goes throughout your body and eventually develops poor health. So it all first starts with just looking like maybe a headache, some joint pain, maybe some extra weight that you just can't get rid of, fatigue. Those are that's kind of the start of it. But eventually you end up with disease. So we really want to, number one, get rid of all these things. We want to try to get rid of the drugs that we take, like anti-inflammatories or antacids, antibiotics. Of course, I'm not going to suggest that you automatically stop any hypertensive drugs or diabetic drugs, etc. Please don't stop these things. You need to do them carefully, of course. But anything that you don't need, try to stay away from antibiotics as much as possible. There's some great natural ways to heal. Anti-inflammatories are horrible. They really irritate the gut and cause a lot of these problems. And the NSAIDs, I'm sorry, those are the NSAIDs, something called the proton pump inhibitors like Nexium, Protonix, Tagamet are also a different form of antacids, Zantac. Those decrease the acid production in our stomach and unfortunately, again, cause lots of inflammation and problems in the future. So one of the processes of going through a detox is to rid yourself of all of these items. So food particles is one of the main reasons that we do an elimination diet. There are certain foods that get through. Toxins, of course, so food toxins, pesticides, herbicides, GMOs, but other toxins as well. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the 3 weeks and how you can change your products in your household. And then I try and push also throughout the detox, you want to try and de-stress as much as you can. Take detox baths, relax, go for a relaxing yoga class, restorative yoga class, maybe meditate. Those are the things that you want to do throughout this, and hopefully you'll find that you enjoy it and will continue that on into the future. Because that's the goal, right? The goal isn't just to do a detox, lose some weight, feel good, and then poof, go right back to your normal ways. We really don't want to do that, do we? We want to continue on and get excited about feeling good and getting healthy. So what kind of things can we get from our gut being inflamed and from all those toxins? And, pretty much any disease. But the majority of them are here: diabetes, heart disease, lung disease, autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, arthritis itself, cancer. Cancer is a biggie. Breast cancer, colon cancer, all types of cancers, thyroid cancer, neurological diseases like ADHD, autism, strokes. So any type of disease really starts with inflammation, which is a breakdown of our body. So now we're going to get into the how. We kind of understand the why, I hope now. Certainly, if you have more questions, you can send me an email and I'll be more than happy to discuss it further. But let's talk about the why. I'm sorry, the how. So how do we do this? Well, here's our timeline. This is a 3-week detox. And for the most part, I'm going to suggest you want to stay on the elimination diet for 4 weeks before you reinstitute certain foods, okay? In the email you got today, you received like a 16-page information on the elimination diet itself, and it talks about how to reintroduce foods. And I try to tell people start doing that after the 4th week, because that's when those immune complexes that we saw before, those immune complexes will stop occurring. So you'll have a better chance of deciding what foods are affecting you. And of course, if you're following up with me at all, we'll sit down at the 4th week and we'll discuss it. But those of you who aren't, if you're doing this on your own, you really want to wait the 4 weeks before you start introducing a food item one at a time and watching what your body does. Okay? But our detox itself is a 3-week detox. We start with the elimination diet. The elimination diet, I start with that first by itself because a lot of people need time to figure out how to do this, how to, get the foods out of your life. You'll take the next 2 to 3 days and clean out your kitchen, go shopping, have fun at Wild by Nature, Whole Foods. Stop and Shop also has lots of great organics. You want to try and get some free-range chicken. You want to cook it, get it prepared for the week. You really want to take your time and go through some of the recipes and figure out, what am I going to eat? What do I like? How am I going to do this? And for the most part, most of us eat maybe 2 or 3 different types of foods for breakfast, 2 or 3 for lunch, and 2 or 3 for dinner. We don't really have a whole lot of variety to begin with. And I'm always shocked by hearing someone say, well, how can I do it? There's only 1 or 2 things I like to eat. And when I ask them, oh, what do you normally have for breakfast? I usually have just cereal and a banana and maybe some eggs. So that's all they're eating on a regular basis for breakfast in the morning. I'm sure that when you sit down with the elimination diet, you can pick 2 different things that you enjoy to eat that you can eat throughout the week for breakfast. Do the same thing for lunch and the same thing for dinner. Okay? It doesn't have to be a huge variety of things. That will come. I have been doing this for years now. But I didn't start having a huge amount of recipes or things that I know to do. It becomes a habit over time. So the way I did it was, eventually I started adding 1 recipe a week and figure out, all right, let's do something different tonight for dinner, and figure out what else can we eat. Okay, so the elimination diet, you want to start slow. Certainly, if you're not starting for a couple of days, you want to decrease your caffeine. If you're drinking a lot of caffeine, maybe cut to decaf and half calf. In each day, kind of decrease it over time, because that can cause a lot of headaches. It is extremely, extremely common to have a headache, joint pain, maybe muscle aches, feel tired, have insomnia when you start the detox, okay, or start the elimination diet itself, because your body is all of a sudden saying, wow, I'm not getting all these toxins. Maybe I can start cleaning up a little. Okay, so it starts doing that. And you know what? Those toxins are now in your bloodstream, and now the liver has to kick in, and you have to start to get it out of the kidneys and get it out of the bowels. And so you will start feeling it. So be careful. Certainly email me, call the office if you have any questions about some of the symptoms that you're having. By week 2, you're going to start the detox supplements, but you're going to continue the elimination diet. And I do this because of what I said about the symptoms. If I start the detox supplements with the elimination diet right away, most people would get too many symptoms and it would be really hard to continue. So I always start the detox supplements at the 2nd week. Now that things are getting into the system, we give you the detox supplements, and you'll have the ability to package the toxins in a proper form and get rid of them. One of the lectures in the future will talk specifically about what those supplements do and how to do it. But that's a little bit too much and too in-depth for today. So week 3, same thing. You're going to stay on detox supplements and an elimination diet. Okay, and as I suggested, week 4, I would continue the elimination diet. You will no longer need to be on the detox supplements. Some of you, especially the women, will have some extra if you want to continue some of those detox supplements during the next week, that's fine. You can certainly finish them off. They're not harmful at all. And most of the time, those of you who might be following up with me, I will continue you on some form of detox supplements until we get you back to health. So, what are the foods that really cause an issue? These are the main six, but you'll find a pretty extensive list in the elimination diet that you got in the email today. So, breads, gluten. That's the thing in the top left is bread is gluten, wheat gluten, barley has gluten, couscous has gluten. You want to switch to things like rice, quinoa, millet. Oats I take out as well because it's very difficult to make sure that oats don't have gluten in it just because of the way they're milled. Peanuts are highly inflammatory. And unfortunately, peanuts are not really a nut, they're a legume. So we also removed legumes in general. And part of the reason why we removed legumes is because of their mycotic, um, uh, which is fungi. Okay, the legumes have a lot of funguses, and because of that mycotic load, we're trying to remove things from our body, right? So we don't want those funguses in our system because that just makes it harder for our body to react. So we remove legumes, we remove peanuts, we remove eggs. A lot of people have a lot of allergies and inflammatory processes to mostly egg whites, but eggs are very versatile. So I do allow people to start putting those back in, usually after the fourth week, but it depends upon the person. Dairy, all cheeses, yogurts, ice cream, anything that has dairy in it, you definitely want to remove. It has casein and the whey protein, and that's what causes the allergy. It's not about being lactose intolerant. That's only one very small component. Most of us are having lactose intolerance because our dairy is homogenized and pasteurized. So because we do the pasteurization, we remove the lactase that we need to break down the dairy proteins. So that ends up causing a lactose intolerance. So, because dairy really can be a full protein for us, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what we do to it that causes a problem. And then some of us are in general just do not do well with dairy. So we take dairy out. The middle bottom one is soy. Soy proteins we remove as well. Tempeh, edamame. And again, it's just the proteins tend to have an issue with soy, and a lot of soy products are also GMO, which is an issue. So the soy, especially when you're looking at packages, you want to stay away from things like soy lecithin. That's lecithin, lecithin. That is something that's often in our products. And speaking about boxes and cans, I want to get you to stay away from that, because if we stick to the produce aisle, we won't get gluten. We're not going to get dairy. We won't get eggs. Corn, okay, we might get corn, but we'll stay away from corn. So produce is where we want to be. We want to be mostly plant-based. That's the majority of our diet. And then we're going to add some proteins and add some fats to make a complete meal. And then the last is corn. And corn has a protein that's very similar to gluten. So it's not just because most corn has GMO, is already genetically modified. It's mostly because of the protein that looks very similar to gluten. Okay, so This is a very short list, but you have a very good list in your packet that was attached to the email. Just a note about that, the way the email system that I use attaches it, it's all the way at the bottom, and it's blue, and it's kind of, sometimes it's missed. So just look all the way at the bottom of the email, and you'll see kind of it's underlined. That's the link or the attachment. Okay. So we're talking dairy, avoid dairy. So rice or coconut milk are good alternatives. Gluten, you want to go to rice and quinoa. Soybeans, legumes, you see the split peas, lentils. So there is, for everything we avoid, there are some really good things that you can use. Okay. A lot of people say, well, I've really just got so sick and tired of eating chicken. Why do I have to have chicken? Well, there's turkey, there's wild game. You can have venison, you can have bison, fresh ocean fish, you can have swordfish, you can have halibut, flounder. There's tons of animal proteins that you can have. Now, if you're vegan, it becomes a little bit more difficult, and you're going to want to stick with lentils and split peas for your protein sources. But during the detox supplementation part of it, the second and third week, you're going to be getting plenty of protein with your pea protein drink. So I'm not too worried about you getting protein. And honestly, vegetables have protein. They really do. So you really can, if you're having a really nice, 2 cups worth of spinach, will have somewhere around 4 to 6 grams of protein in it. So you'll be getting plenty of protein. Not to worry. So how do we deal with the detox supplements when that part of it starts? Most of you will have gotten it in the mail during that first week. It comes with a little package. There's a brochure that describes all of this as well. There's some written components of it that were wrong, like the amino detox. It talks about 2 capsules in the morning with breakfast or upon rising, and then it says for dinner it says two capsules upon rising as well. But the idea is to take two capsules in the morning, 2 capsules at night, or for men it's 3 capsules and 3 capsules. But that brochure gives you some really good information. The one thing I want you to remember, though, is that the diet that's in the brochure that comes with the detox supplements is not as strict as my elimination diet. So please don't confuse the two. It comes directly from the company and they do a really nice job, but that is not the elimination diet that I have people follow. Okay. And those of you who know there's foods out there that may not be on my list that bothers your stomach, please, again, don't eat it. One other thing that I will note, you'll notice on the list in the attachment that you received today, when we talk about, there's an area that we talk about if you have joint pain or arthritis symptoms, you want to stay away from things, the nightshades, which are things like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, and potatoes. So keep in mind, if you don't have joint pain, if you don't have a history of arthritis, you can eat those. But if you do, please stay away from them. Okay? So Paleo Cleanse, it's a powder form. You're going to take a half a scoop of it. And you're going to put it into 8 to 12 ounces of water or rice or coconut milk. Then you're going to add 1 scoop of pure pea. The pure pea is specifically that. It's pea protein. Okay? The Paleo Cleanse is some pea protein, but it also has the supplementation, the herbals, etc., that are going to help the liver cleanse, okay, or detox. So you'll take that for morning breakfast and you'll take that for dinner. I recommend, if you have a bullet, to use a NutriBullet or a Vitamix, whatever you use to make a smoothie. You'll want to do that. You can add some fresh or frozen fruit to this. Those of you who make shakes and want to add dandelion leaves and romaine lettuce and avocado, go right ahead. Go for it. There's also some really nice recipes in the back of the brochure. Again, be careful because I believe they allow, I have to remember now, I believe they allow almond butter and we don't. So one of those shakes might have a recipe with something that I don't necessarily allow. So just remove it. Okay. Specifically, they allow some of the sweeteners that I don't. So just again, if it's in a recipe in their brochure, please ignore it. Okay. So you'll make the shake for breakfast and you'll make the shake for dinner. Now, lots of people like to lose weight during the detox, and that's fine. And this shake is a full meal. It's a functional food, so you can eat just the shake for breakfast and dinner. Absolutely not a problem whatsoever. If you feel really hungry or if you're getting dizzy or lightheaded or tired, please add a light meal with it. If you don't need to lose weight, I absolutely want you to have um, a little bit extra along. Maybe not for breakfast. Breakfast is it's pretty good for, especially if you're putting fruit and maybe some greens in it, etc. But for dinner, I'd like you to have maybe a salad on the side. Whatever you normally would have, you can certainly eat with it. And if you don't need to lose weight and you are losing weight, please call me and let me know and we'll discuss it further. So hydrolyzyme is a digestive enzyme that helps to break down pea protein that's in a liquid form. So one capsule is taken with each and every shake. Okay, and what I find is that most people will have some of that left over at the end. It's not, the counts in these bottles aren't exact based upon this detox. So if you have some extra, if you have some extra of the pure pea and the paleo cleanse, you can keep using it, maybe as a shake in the middle of the day or continue to use it as your breakfast, whatever you'd like. And you can certainly continue and finish off the hydrolyzyme with it. The amino detox. So that too has a lot more capsules in it, and part of it is because women and men have different serving sizes for that. So women will be taking 2 capsules twice daily, and you can certainly take it, so that you remember, take it with your breakfast shake and take it with your dinner shake. And then men will take 3 capsules in the morning with breakfast and 3 capsules in the evening with dinner. So it's a fairly easy supplementation. Again, you don't have to skip meals. You can have a nice meal as long as it follows the elimination diet, the foods that you're excluding. But if you'd like to lose some extra weight, you can certainly use this as just your replacement meal. So what are some tips? So cutting back caffeine slowly is a biggie. It's fine if you are taking caffeine through that first week, just so that you can slowly decrease off of it. The caffeine is not necessarily because of a food intolerance. It's more because it can irritate the gut. It's acidic. Often people are not taking an organic form of it. And the last is that many of you have cortisol issues, and for someone who has cortisol, I do not recommend caffeine whatsoever until at least we get to a point where your cortisol is back to normal. So that's why I take caffeine out. Um, I'm just going to remind you to follow my foods to avoid list and not the list on the brochure that you'll get with the detox supplements. I also want you to drink lots of fluids. You want to drink half your weight in fluid ounces per day. Now that's up to 100 ounces. Some people say you can drink up to 120. So if you're 255 pounds, you really don't want to drink 125 ounces. The maximum I'm going to say is 100 ounces a day. If you're 160, you're going to drink 80 ounces. If you're 200, you're going to drink 100 ounces. Anything over 200 pounds, stick to the 100-ounce mark. But that's how much I want you to drink. Because remember, how do we get rid of these toxins? We get rid of them by, So we get rid of them by urinating. We get rid of them by our bowel movements and how we, sorry about that, my phone is ringing in the background. So we get rid of them by urinating, we get rid of them by bowel movements. That's really what we want to do, and how we're going to try and remove all our toxins from our body. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is make sure that your bowel movements are moving appropriately. And if you have issues with that, again, during some of the emails you'll receive some information on that. The other thing is I want you to take it slow. Remember, you're going to have symptoms. That's, part of the detox, unfortunately, is that you're removing things from the tissues, getting it back into the system, and you're going to feel that. I want you to recognize it, go to bed early, definitely take some detox baths on a daily basis. There's a recipe that comes in one of the emails for that. You want to certainly try and meditate, maybe take a restorative yoga. You can exercise. If you're someone who normally exercises, please go continue on. If you don't exercise whatsoever, please do not begin an exercise program when you first start the detox. Certainly do some flexibility exercises, stretching, things like that, but you don't want to start a new exercise program. So here is, for those of you who don't know my practice well, the way we look at the whole component of a person. We want to treat the whole person by putting all the pieces together. And the main pieces that we talk about is nutrition, our fitness, hormonal balance, sleep relaxation, and then the detox. So as we're looking at our whole body, we want to make sure that all of these things are coming at us. And if we detox our body correctly, we'll start to know that our nutrition and our fitness will get better, right? We want to continue to eat better. We want to continue to exercise. We'll put the hormones back into place. Sleep and relaxation is extremely important. But if you can see, if you remove detox from this, you're going to topple over. It's not going to completely fix the problem. So that's why I suggest a detox on a regular basis. And, the other component of it is that I like looking at at putting someone back to health or optimizing health as creating a system. If you don't have a system, um, most of us will fail, right? If you look at, if you've ever done goals, you look at goals, and if you don't create your action plan, you're not going to get to your goal, right? So what we do here is we create the system and then help you walk through that system. And the first part of that is to detoxify. All right, so I hope this answers a lot of your questions. Certainly review it again if you need to. Send me an email, give a call to the office, and we'll talk to you at our next webinar session.